Hi everyone, welcome to today's video. I'm Lisa from Down to Earth Gardening, and today's an exciting day. I'm in Florida and I'm going to be pruning a palm tree. So this one here, it's looking kind of ratty and I can't wait to get it spruced up. But in the video, we're going to talk about the whys, the whens, and the how-to pruning a palm tree, and I'm going to walk you through it and also show you some of the tools and materials that I'm using to do this project. So first of all, I want to talk about the whys. Why should you prune your palm tree? And there are three main reasons. And number one is first and foremost, and it is for safety. So this palm tree is right next to the driveway. So we park our cars here. There's a lot of walking traffic in and out of the house, to the car, whatnot. And if you don't prune it, they will just go ahead and drop the fronds, and just for safety, it's really good to keep them tidy and cleaned up to prevent that from happening. So you want to think about that first. And I will say, with that said, that they will drop on their own eventually, and you can see evidence of that over here. The downside of that is not only the safety issue, but you can't control where they're going to be cut, and you really don't want them to break off too close to the tree. Or you're going to see today we're not going to be cutting very close to the trunk of the tree, because the trunk is what protects the tree itself. So safety first. Number two is the health of the tree. So we want all of the water and the nutrients to go right into the new green growth, which is up towards the top of the tree. And if you've got some brown on there, some dying dead fronds, it's really just going to take away from that. So it really does help with the health of the tree. And number three reason is, and you're going to chuckle a little bit at this, but in doing a lot of research on pruning palm trees, I'm hearing that the old fronds are great for a nesting place for some undesirable rodents, rats, mice, whatnot, and also scorpions can nest in there. So that's all you have to tell me. You don't need to tell me twice. So I also think it's going to be great just for looks. Like, that is probably the fourth and extra reason, and maybe not as important as the first three, but you do want to think about your palm tree just looking its best, really. So when to prune it? So spring is a great time to prune it. People say that you can really prune a palm tree at any point in time. Some people steer clear of pruning during the winter months when the palms are dormant, but if it's a safety issue, then really just go ahead and prune it any time. I've talked to a lot of arborists and landscapers, and they say that they do perfectly fine pruning any time of the year. The advantage of doing it in the spring is it's a little bit cooler for us, so that certainly helps with the yard chores. So we're going to be using some different tools today that I want to talk about, and I do want to say that this tree is at a pretty good height for us to care for. We can do it with the pole saw, or we could do it on a ladder. If there's anything taller, then you probably do want to call a professional, so you want to call an arborist. But we have a pole saw. It's an extension pole saw with a small chainsaw at the end of it. And your other options, if you can get up there on a ladder, is you can use this hand saw here. This is the one I like. I like to keep my small pruners here on hand. And then notice that I'm wearing some gloves here. You want to have some safety gear and some protection, so the fronds can be sharp. So you do want to use some heavy gloves, and of course you want to wear your safety glasses. So additionally, I probably should have a safety hat or helmet, but I'm going to try to do it from a distance since I have the saw here today. So make sure you take all those safety measures and then some when you're doing this project on your own. Okay, so I'm getting ready to do some pruning, and I just want to briefly go over the how-tos, and then I'm going to get to it and have you follow along with me for pruning my first palm tree. So number one tip is when it's time to prune, make sure your tools are clean. And really all that means is you can just wipe them down with some rubbing alcohol and have them clean before you get started. Number two is that you want to prune the dead branches as if it were a clock below 9 to 3. So I'm just basically thinking of a clock or even a circle graph and a line right through it in the middle horizontally, and we're going to prune anything that's hanging below it. So 9 to 3, and there's a lot of videos out there on pruning your palm tree 9 to 3, and that's what that means. So anything above 9 to 3 or 10 to 2 at most on a clock is what you should be leaving. And then number 3 is when you're pruning your palm tree, you should prune the fronds off at about 2 inches away from the trunk of the palm tree. So 2 inches away is where you're going to be making your cuts, and that's because you don't want to leave the trunk unprotected from diseases or pests. So we're pretty much done. We're just going to do some cleanup here, and I want to end the video by telling you a couple extra things. First of all, we found some treasures, some good things and some bad things as we worked our way up into the tree. And I want to give you some additional tips, and then we're just going to do a quick before and after photo. So treasures is the tree is really fantastic, and I think it's going to be much healthier, do much better now. But look at all the plants, the underplantings here that are also going to do so much better now. So we have this beautiful Dracaena here, and then we have another palm, and there's even some little asparagus fern in here. Okay, bad things we found. The palm next to it is actually pretty much a goner. There really isn't anything left on it in the way of palms. And so it was quite messy, and the two trees were tangled together. So we tried to just clear that up a little bit just to get it away from the healthy tree. So that's a little bit sad, and who knows what happened to that. Sometimes this happens with deferred maintenance, or it could have been some kind of disease or pests or whatnot. So let me first show you what we took off the tree, and then I'm going to give you some tips here. So this is our debris pile. We took quite a bit off, and it's really shocking to see how hard and sharp these palms are. So this is no joke, pruning this tree. It's a lot of work, and you definitely need some protective gear. But a couple of additional tips. One is when you're working with your electric tools, especially this heavy, long pole saw, really be mindful of where your cord is and try to do it in stages. Number two, tripping factor is whatever you're pruning off the tree. So you should also stop periodically and just clean up your mess a little bit, because you do not want to be backing over any palms that you've already clipped. So two other things, but I think you can see here some of the fruit on the tree as well. And it is also important if you can remove that, because you really don't want it to go to seed. That's also taking energy away from the tree. And we did try to cut some off, you can see here in our pile. So we did as much as we could without really getting into the tree, because then you risk cutting the healthy palms. And so we really just want to leave that alone. But lastly, I want to talk a little bit more about the deferred maintenance. Now, ideally, you shouldn't be taking off more than 1 year's growth. And when there's deferred maintenance, sometimes there's a lot of pruning to do. And I always tell my clients back home when it comes to pruning shrubs and whatnot, if it's deferred, and this, folks, is why it's so important to keep on top of your plantings and keep them in regular healthy shape, then you have to do it over a couple of years. You don't want to shock the tree by taking too much off at once. So I always tell people 2 to 3 years, we're going to kind of phase it a little bit and not shock the tree. So I safely took off as much as I can. You can still see a little bit of brown on it. It could definitely be trimmed up some more, but due to the deferred maintenance, it really should be done over a couple of years. So overall, it was hard work, but I believe it was well worth it, and I really hope that you liked this video and you found it interesting and that it helped some of you palm tree owners at home. So thank you so much for joining me. If you like this video, please go ahead and tap like and subscribe to our channel because we have lots more gardening videos coming your way.